Well, hi guys, my name is Ryan. I'm with Stemco Kaiser. I'm just going to go through the ins and outs of the kingpin side of things. Any questions that you guys have as I'm going, please chime in. It's a lot better if we roll through things. I can sit up here and talk all day and it's not very good for anybody. So please chime in, ask questions. Basically what we're going to go through is what we call the quick kit. Stemco Kaiser, we make kind of a good, better, best type kingpin thing. The removable ones that we call the Econo Kits. The plus kits are a bimetal bronze bushing that looks like this. Excuse me. Thank you. And that's what we call our plus kit. The difference with the plus kit is it's an already reamed bushing, so it's sized to fit the spindle. And that's what we call the plus kit. And then this one here that we're going to go through is what we call our quick kit. So again, if you have any questions, just chime in. So I guess, are any of you guys working on the kingpins in the shop? Anybody? Okay, good. Then at least one person here will know I'm, slightly where I need to be on this stuff, or can set me straight if I need to be. As I'm going through this, what do you do when you check to find out if it's time to do a kingpin job?
Jack it up and see if you got play in it.
Okay, just take a pry bar and, okay. That's usually what 99% of everybody out there does. And so what I always say is, we tell folks, if you can, use a dial indicator when you're checking that, when you jack it up, when you pull it. What that'll do for you is if James does that and he pulls on it a little bit, he feels like there's play, and then I pull on it and I feel like there's not play. So he and I are kind of saying it's time to do a kingpin job at different times. The nice thing about using a dial indicator is then when you pull on that, you know exactly how much. You can put a metric to what you're doing, so you can kind of have a magic number as to say, okay, when we get to 9,000ths, we do a kingpin job every time, and then we write it down. And that way it just gives you, it backs up what you're doing, gives you a little bit extra ammunition as far as if it comes back on you at all, you can say, hey, I measured it, I checked it, it was at 9,000ths. The other thing it does is if you measure it, what a dial indicator will do is it'll actually help you know what's gone wrong in the system without taking it all apart. So you can actually tell if you think it's a bushing or if you think it's the bearing that's gone just by measurement and changing the location of the dial indicator a little bit, which I can't really show you on here real well, but that's the advantage of doing that on the dial indicator side. So once you've jacked it up and you kind of know that you've got play, one of the big things that we go through is the inspection side. This is something that a lot of guys just kind of want to get the truck back on the road as fast as they can. So we run through this. What we tell everybody, make sure you use a brake cone, run it through, make sure there's no debris, clean everything up on the spindle and the axle. And then the most important thing is, as you're going through that, is to make sure you check the size of these axles and the size of the spindle. We know nobody's going to really use one of these, but this is the proper way to do this. You take a T-gauge, put it in here, you put it in the top, you want to take different measurements all throughout, pull this out, measure where you got it, take another spot, put this down. Typically the wear is going to be in the top and the bottom. And especially on a Eaton single draw key axle, you're going to find that it's almost always on the bottom, just because of the fact that as that truck's steered down the road, it almost wallers this out, almost like an egg shape down on the bottom. And that's what kind of led us to what we call our happy go, no-go gauge. And this just takes the thinking out of that deal. You don't have to measure it. We put this at 5,000, so spec is 1 to 3. If this thing fits in at any point into this axle or even gets close to fitting, this thing's not where it needs to be. And you'll find that if you've got a lot of extra tire wear that you can't explain, or you're going through it and you're saying, hey, we just did kingpins and now we're doing kingpins again, it feels like it's more frequent, or you're seeing more tire wear, 9 times out of 10, if you trace it all the way back, you might trace it here and you'll think, okay, if we get a new spindle, we'll solve the problem. You haven't. You've actually not traced it all the way back to the axle. And so what we've found over the years is we'll go in, and if guys are having issues, we measure everything up, and 9 times out of 10, it's the bottom of this axle that's worn almost every time. So just make sure you check it. What a lot of guys do now, if they're honest with me, and we ask this and we go through it, guys will say, how do you check the axle? I take a pin and I do one of these. And if it moves, it's got some play, and if it doesn't, then we're good to go. And that's what they're doing. Even if you do that, what a lot of guys fail to do, and I can't do it with this happy plate here, you want to make sure you put it in at the bottom. And I guarantee you, if you do that same exact thing here on the top, on the bottom, depending on what axle you've got, you'll feel that pin move a lot more on the bottom than you will on the top. So if I can stress anything else to you today, make sure you check this axle, make sure you check it on the bottom, and especially on a single draw key, or if you've got a draw key now with some of the new designs that are out there has two draw keys on the same side. Basically, the ones that we see that wear the most are the ones that are, first of all, have one single draw key, is by far the worst, and the reason for that is you're asking that one draw key to hold right here, and that pin starts doing one of these as it rolls down the road, and that's what takes the bottom of that axle out. Then a little bit better than that is 2 draw keys on the same side. You still have one side that's got full motion in it, so as that vehicle rolls down the road, eventually it's going to start getting loose on one side, and now you're going to get more wear on the axle. So by far the best design is this 2 on the same side, or on the alternating sides, and that gives you a better wear life on it. So once you've got that determined that both of these, and again, you want to check the sizes here. We don't have go, no-go gauges for every axle. We're working on that on the axle side right now, and then down the road we'll have them for the spindles as well. But in the catalogs that we've got the specs for all these. So if you're in the shop, you can check it with the go, no-go gauge, or you can check it here with your T-gauge and measure it up and make sure that it's where it needs to be. So once you've got these clean and you know everything's where it needs to be, the next step is to change the kingpins, and I know the hardest part's just getting the old ones out half the time. And so that's what's nice about this system, is even if it's been out on the road for 10 years or whatever, you can actually just take a screwdriver, pry that up, and then just kind of stay away from the very edge, and it's almost indestructible as long as you do that. And then twist that up. The beauty of it is, when you're installing this, it's just as easy as putting it in. It's clockwise whether you're pushing or pulling. It takes a little getting used to, because all of us are used to loosening and tightening different ways, but that's the only difference there. And that's what the bushing looks like. It's a spiral steel bushing. You can see different grooves in there that we've added and changed over the years just to keep the patents intact. But it's the only steel bushing that's out there. It does. We get that a lot. It does. But it's the only one, like I said, a lot of guys think it's stainless. It's not a stainless steel. It's a hardened tool steel. It goes through, if you saw at our plant what we put that through, it goes through about 7 processes by hand. And it's one of the things we do is shine it up and smooth it up so it makes it a little easier to deal with. And that's why a lot of guys think it's stainless. I probably should have asked it first. Has anybody put these in before? Nope. Okay. Have you ever put any of these in?
These ones?
Yeah. Okay. I should have asked before about that. So basically, that's what makes us a little bit different. I'm going to go through one of the things that we have issues with on here is on the lip seal side. And as you're going through this, one of the things that a lot of guys go through, are you guys putting these in all the time when you're doing the kingpins, or you just toss them in the garbage? You put them in? Okay. Most of the guys, a lot of them are just throwing them in the garbage. And I'll explain to you what happens if you put this in the wrong way. We'll get this call a lot at our tech line. Guys will say, hey, we just tried your kingpins. The truck, we tried greasing it. It won't take grease. It's just locked up. And that's because guys have put these lip seals in the wrong way. If you put these in the wrong way, the design or the intention here is to make sure that as you put it in place with the lip facing the axle, it allows the old grease and the old, whatever's found its way in there to purge, and then the new grease to fill this up with new grease. And that's the whole design purpose of it. So if you have that facing the wrong direction, it'll actually lock up with grease. So we always tell guys, if you don't know which way to put it in, you're probably better off just to throw it in the garbage, because you'll end up with a down vehicle over a little 5-cent piece here. But that's the reason for it, and it will get you extra life in this system by putting it in. So what we tried to do is we did a couple things. Number one, in the boxes, a lot of times guys that get these, they'd already be damaged even before they got a chance to put them in. So we put these little cases in here to help keep them in. And then the other part that we did is we have driving, removal, and installation tools for all the different kingpins. So the nice thing about this system is you can take that lip seal and almost without looking at it, you can tell you're putting it on the right way or the wrong way. And that lip is designed to, kind of fight you. And I'll pass this around so you can get an idea for what I'm talking about. But as I pass that over, some guys have said I hardly feel it. You have to kind of concentrate a little bit on it, but you'll feel that one way it feels like it wants to just slide right on for you, and the other way you can tell it kind of fights you a little bit. So the way I remember this is just the way for me that works. The lip of the seal needs to kiss the axle. So there's going to be a seal down here on the bottom. That lip needs to face up against the axle, and then here on the top, that lip would obviously face down so that it's kissing the axle. So in both of those instances, you need a seal here and a seal here, and that seal is going to kiss this axle, and again, to let that old grease purge and the new grease fill that up. So I'll wait till that passes over.